Borderline personality disorder, the behaviours that threaten your life. I am making this video for the purpose of maybe saving someone's life one day. Now I know that there are people who have been diagnosed and they are genuinely working to heal themselves and to regulate their behaviour. I take my hat off to you if you are one of these, or if you know someone with borderline who is doing this. But this video is talking about the dangerous side of being a partner or a close friend of someone with borderline personality disorder. The risks they take can kill you. Hi beautiful beings, I'm Carol Rathel, occupational therapist, metaphysical minister. I help people on their awakening journey, which sometimes includes healing. And I'm spotlighting borderline personality disorder just lately because it's time for awareness on this to grow. I'm going to say BPD for the rest of this video. One of the most dangerous traits a person with BPD characteristically have is the completely irresponsible behaviour of taking risks and the lack of control when they become angry, which is often the time that they take these risks. These risks they take can be game over. I am speaking from my own experience, in addition to my professional knowledge and the research I have done. I hope that sharing this with you can not only help you stay safe, but also to help you see the red flags in people in maybe a new relationship. The danger is not limited to people with BPD. Of course, there are other people, for reasons of their own, that can behave terribly. But I feel you should know about these risks that occur in this disorder. The risk-taking is so extreme sometimes, like gambling all of their money at the risk of losing their home, regardless of who is dependent on them. Even though they know they could lose their money in gambling, they can go back to doing it. Even though a few days earlier they were saying, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm finished, I can't believe I did that. The moment they get some money in their hand, they will be down there gambling again. I witnessed this in an ex-partner. I was powerless to prevent it. It wasn't my responsibility to stop that behaviour anyway, but it brought up in me the desire to heal him. This is a classic feeling for a partner of someone with BPD, because they tend to choose big-hearted people who would do anything to keep their relationship afloat and to try and protect them from their own behaviour. So when my ex came back penniless, I did the one thing I knew I shouldn't do. I rescued him, I gave him money to pay the bills. The risk for me in that was because I was in a living situation that I would lose my home if the bills weren't paid. I became a very unhappy enabler. I felt powerless to stop rescuing him. It resulted in a massive financial drain for me. I completely abandoned my own financial security because I was giving him money to meet his side of the obligation. Looking back, I can see I should have called the finish relationship card a lot sooner than I did. This is the type of situation that we can get into. Sometimes we don't see it until we are deeply in it. Another more dangerous aspect of their behaviour that puts people at risk is their temper explosions. There was a time, in fact there was more than one, that I would be walking past the man cave, and all of a sudden a large heavy object flew out of the air inches from my head. This happened more than once. My cries of surprise and shock brought him to the door, and now that his anger was spent, he spoke of it in such a way that was really gaslighting. Like, I deliberately aimed away from you. You know I would never harm you. You don't trust me. There was no apology, and I nearly bought his version of it. Like, maybe I was making too much of it. The deadly risk they can take is when they are driving and you or anyone else is in the car. I mean, they can take a risk with their own life, but it becomes our problem when it's our car and when we're in it or our children are in it. I give the ex the credit for being a skilled driver, and in the beginning, during the infatuation period, he drove carefully. He respected the laws of speed. And I felt lulled into the security of being with a partner that I could trust. But once the infatuation period was over, so did his, what turned out to be, fake driving persona. I never knew the speed that my car could go when pushed. I never knew how fast it could go around corners, or how quickly it could come to a grinding halt. I found out. The first occasion was when we were driving on a windy road with a cliff down beside my side of the car. He was driving so fast that if there had been any vehicle coming from the opposite direction, who was even a little bit over the centre line, there was no room to change course. There was no room to back off the speed. We were fully committed into those corners. I spoke up and asked him to slow down. He grumbled about having to drive at nana speed, but he did slow down. The next occasion, we were driving along another windy road at high speeds, and then suddenly he put his foot down and we squealed around a corner. I could feel my side of the car lifting up off the road a little bit. I was so freaked out. I believe I also screamed a bit. But I was so much in the grip of fear. My heart was racing. There were tears in my eyes. And you know that adrenaline hit you get when you just survive a situation that could have killed you? I couldn't speak. I felt like I would just burst into tears, and I really didn't want to do that. So I actually said nothing. The third occasion was the final straw, and it was the last time we travelled together. We were driving along at the open road speed limit, which in our country is 100 kilometres an hour, which is 80 miles an hour, I believe. There were two cars in front of us, and I could sense that he was wanting to get past them. There was a short window of opportunity to pass them, but it was on a fairly tight corner, and I assumed that he wouldn't do it. But he did. He put his foot down and overtook the first car. This was before the corner, so I thought it was all right. But rather than pulling back in, he carried on at the breakneck speed, went round the corner, overtaking the other car. And then he pulled into the lane, just in time to avoid hitting an oncoming car. It freaked them out, I could see that. But this time, I wasn't scared. I didn't feel powerless. I was filled with rage. I didn't want to distract him, and I knew we were going to be stopping soon. So I held it, and I waited. And when we came to a stop, I let him have it. I don't recall exactly what I said, but it was on the lines of, if you want to risk your own life, that's your choice. But how dare you risk mine? So we were past the infatuation stage, as I said. So instead of apologising to me, I was accused of spoiling his fun and that I was forcing him to drive at a nana speed. I stopped listening after that phrase, spoiling his fun. I was horrified. It was at that point in the relationship that I realised it was toxic. And I realized that up until that point, I had abandoned myself. I had abandoned myself completely. It was also the point where he followed up with one of those comments that they say without thinking. And it was, "You are not the partner for me long term. I need a partner who trusts me when I'm driving, and who is not afraid of speed, and who doesn't need to be driven around like a nana." Again, it was that nana word, and I could see clearly it was a gaslighting comment. I didn't know the term gaslighting, but I totally read into it the lack of caring and the risks he was prepared to take with my life. It went some way towards breaking the trauma bond I had with him, and in a way I am grateful for that comment, because it was what put me on the journey of getting out of that relationship. And the most important thing was it broke the trauma bond and enabled me to keep working on that. You can learn more about that trauma bond in my video here. Each time he threw objects through the air when I was close enough to see it or to have it sail past me were the result of a sudden onset of a temper rage. And these occurred while he was driving as well. And I saw him turn into a completely different person. It happened at lightning speed, like at the flick of a switch. And whether someone was there in the path of his temper, it didn't seem to matter. The truth is, no one deserves to be in danger by another person's behaviour, regardless of whether the other person has been traumatized in their life or not. We need to use tough love with them and set boundaries over what we will allow or won't allow them to do. And a person with BPD, I don't believe setting boundaries will make a difference. The people who have got it in a very strong way, they really lack the ability to see that they have a problem, and they lack any commitment to change their life. They will rather be alone than go through the pain of healing. So I give this message: get out of danger. Get out of intentional or unintentional violence. Please value yourself. Love yourself enough to get out of a situation where you are put in danger. As always, when you are safe, I encourage you to heal your wounds and heal those wounds of childhood that led you to be vulnerable to someone with BPD in the first place. The video I will put up at the end of this has some great guidance on steps you can take to love yourself, which I believe is the main key of healing past abuse. So subscribe, please hit the like button so you get notified when I bring out my next video. I am going to explore the healing side of things in a future video. So I look forward to seeing you, and I will be waiting for you in the next video. Bye for now.